group therapy for fans that deserve better. So much better. Welcome to This Team is Killing Us, a podcast about what the Carolina Panthers do to good people with Demetri Ravanos and Lauren Brownlow.
Oh, Demetri, look, you knew I was going to. I honestly was very hopeful and even somewhat thought I might not have to. But I did say Tyler Shuck tore up the Panthers. I was going to hold you personally responsible for that because you were so sure that would not happen.
Yeah, well, okay. In my defense, I think anybody would have torn up the Panthers the way they played on Sunday. I am not so sure that success was about Tyler Shuck as much as it was about an incredibly undisciplined team. I think time will prove me right on Tyler Shuck, but on Sunday, I got to take an L, particularly because it was against our team. So I will say for the day, I was wrong about Tyler Shuck.
Look, I texted you because I was pissed when the Saints drafted him because I really liked him at Louisville. Like, he's been one of my I liked the way he played in the ACC quite a bit, and like I thought he had some potential. The biggest problem with him is his age, right? Like, he's already elderly for a quarterback, and so like, is he a long-term option? No, but like, do I think he could be a solid, at worst, like a very solid backup, and at best, like a lower tier starter for somebody? Absolutely, like I do. I still think that. So
okay. I mean, I think that his success at Louisville was about Louisville not having any better options, so they had to keep him in there. Like, you saw him lose starting jobs at Oregon and at Texas Tech pretty quickly. I don't think super highly of him as a quarterback. I don't think he's awful. Like, he's certainly not.
Knows that, like, we don't, like, you were like, oh, I didn't, there aren't a lot of quarterbacks that can make some of the throws he did, but fair.
So this is the thing, right? Even though I think any quarterback would have had a good day on Sunday against the Panthers, give Shuck credit for doing it, right? Like, his offensive line gave him time to make throws, and every time it looked like a Panthers pass rush was going to break contain, he moved up in the pocket, stepped up, made a throw. Certainly the defensive backs for Carolina helped him out tremendously by falling down on some of those deep routes. But yeah, as much as I think anybody could have done it on Sunday, give Shuck credit for doing it. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he made some. There were a few like tight window throws too that I was like, "Dang, okay." Like, I, as someone who liked him at Louisville, wouldn't have thought he would come in his first start and make some of those throws. And then I was like, that's when I knew too. Like, there was at least one of those early that I was like, okay, this is not good, because if he's making that throw, like, this is bad. It's a bad omen for what's coming for us right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally the first drive went the Panthers' way entirely, right down to Bryce threw a bad interception that get called back on. Yeah, maybe a little bit of a ticky-tack roughing the passer, but it did get called back, and they end up cashing it in with a touchdown. And then it all went to hell in a handbasket. And Lauren, I think Sunday is just the perfect picture of the Panthers. This Panthers team is capable of anything, and I do not mean that as a compliment.
Derogatory. No. Parentheses, derogatory. Yes.
Right. I mean, you think about what they did against the Packers versus what they did on Sunday. It is the perfect picture of how they can put together a game plan to punch above their weight class. And they are also capable of just completely fucking up every time the ball is snapped.
Quite literally, almost. Yeah. Like, it was you're exactly right. And like, that to me, like, did I think it would be like this dramatic of swings? No. Can my fragile psyche take much more of this? I don't know. I'm doing my best. Okay. But like, this is why I said I thought like 7 wins would be about like where I'd be happy with them finishing, because I knew I was happy with a lot of the youth they have. I'm still happy with a lot of the youth that they have, but I do think like that is something that will contribute to some of the yo-yo nature of the kinds of play that we're seeing like all over the place, quite frankly. So,
well, I mean, look, I think that youth is at the center of the yo-yoing just because of what it is specifically the youth is being asked to do. On the offensive side of the ball, you're relying on a lot of guys you think could be stars, but have not proven it yet. Rico Dowdle is your veteran weapon. And I think it was very clear on Sunday, and maybe even to a certain extent clear in the Packers game. The league is on to Rico. The league is on to what it is the Panthers want to do with Rico. So that means you are relying on a quarterback whose progression is not a straight line and sometimes completely disappears, and a bunch of pass catchers, none of whom have been in the league longer than 2 years.
Right. I mean, I was going to say, like, you got Coker, I guess. Well, no, Coker's even pretty young in that way. David Moore and Tommy Trimble, are those the only two we're looking at?
Those are the veterans. I mean, I guess you could add. So the weird one is because also in part because they've been using him less and less, but Bryce and Tremaine, I guess, technically has been a pro for 5 years, but he's only played 2. Like most of those years are on practice squads. So you are looking at a receiving core that is still developing. I mean, Teteroa McMillan does have superstar potential, but he also has the potential to do what he did on Sunday, which is drop 3 passes that would have all been first downs.
For me, I think, I don't know if we're thinking of all the same ones, but there was one that I was like, to me, that wasn't, I mean, yes, should you catch it would you want Teteroa to catch that? Yes. But like, was it the best placed? No, not necessarily. So like some of them I would give like a little of both blame, but like I get what, like some of them aren't as bad as the ones that like will hit Xavier Liggett in the chest. And
and ironically, Liggett is the one who I think deserves the pass on Sunday. That throw to him at the back of the end zone, that was a bad throw. Bryce.
They were blaming him on the broadcast, but I was like, that's a little.
It was. He would have had to have probably had the highest vertical leap he has ever had in his life.
They were like, they were on the broadcast. They were like, because I know you were at the game, so like, on the broadcast, they were like, well, we would have liked to have seen him. Like, you want to see your guy like go for that, and I was like, I mean, I guess, but like, where was he going? Like,
when they showed it on, because in real time from where we were sitting closer to the opposite end zone from that one, and also on the opposite side of the field. So in real time, like I thought that it was on him for not making a play, and then they show it on the video board, and there is just no way in hell. I mean, it was part of what was a really bad day for Bryce. I think that it has been interesting. Like last week, you and I were talking about him doing things so well that were not showing up in the stat sheet. And that is where the real progression of Bryce was. He wasn't even doing those things well.
No.
On Sunday. And again, getting back to the main thesis of what we talk about coming out of that game, he is still capable of 60 minutes of absolute brain farts.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's a bigger picture conversation, I'm sure. Like, I don't know if you want to table it or have it, but it is one of those things with him where it's like, look, it's hard with quarterbacks, that. That's always going to be the hottest take. The hottest takes will always center around them, the most reactionary takes, the most usually unreasonable takes. I think, certainly, I feel like I've strived to not be that person with quarterbacks. Maybe because, like, I have literally spent my life, most of my Panthers fan life, the vast majority, watching some absolute garbage can quarterback play. So, like, for me, it is all relative. Okay. Right. So like for me, Bryce, I'm like, he's not that bad. Like, I've seen worse, I promise you. But I also like, I can look at it from a big picture standpoint as well. And I try to be as fair as possible with this stuff. And it's hard. The quarterback evaluation business is a hard one. Who, after watching Sam Darnold for X amount of years, would have been like, sure, that guy's going to succeed at his next stop. Literally no one. Okay.
I mean, I think you could even more than Sam Darnold. Like, think about not just the number of stops, but the time that passed between Geno Smith being a viable NFL quarterback and being one again. It's really hard to predict. He was far and away not the only consistency problem that the Panthers dealt with on Sunday. We talked about DBs falling down, linebackers overrunning the guys they were pursuing. And then on the O-line, like this has to be acknowledged. The 8th different combination to start a game this season. I think you and
Not a record you want to be setting, but they keep saying it on every broadcast now. It's a record. I'm like, cool,
I think you and I talked about this last week. They have played 12 offensive linemen this season. They only carry 9 on the active roster. That tells you how desperate they have had to be at times.
Look, and it's a testament. Honestly, I said this too. I think it's a testament to what like the personnel guys have been able to do.
Agreed.
The fact that it did not look like a disaster until last week. Like the fact that we are here and it hasn't looked like that until last week is crazy.
Yeah, agreed. I think that a lot of the conversation about Dave Canales has been focused this week on his lack of aggression, whether it is about not trusting Bryce, not trusting the receivers, getting in his own head when things are not going well. He's not willing to take that shot to try and do a 180 immediately. I wonder where the conversation is, and I'm talking about the bigger conversation amongst the fans, about the management of the week leading into the game. Because after the game, Ike Ekwonu, Jatavian Sanders, Nick Scorton, all of these guys were calling out what a bad week of practice they had. And it coincides with Dave Canales saying he is going to institute Victory Mondays, where after wins, we get Krispy Kreme and we take it a little bit easy. You had the video that went viral of having Keegan-Michael Key.
Well, that was good. I wouldn't have undone that.
I'm not saying I would have necessarily undone any of it. I'm saying clearly this team is not capable of handling any sort of deceleration of focus, let's say.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm going to blame it on the Krispy Kreme, frankly, because I know when I get a couple of those in me,
it's sleepy time.
Ready to take a nap.
Yeah, so. That's all you could do. Nick Scorton had a really interesting comment. I don't know. Every clip I found of it, it was too echoey to play on the show, but I'll paraphrase what he said, which was that there are some guys that this week got a little too full of themselves, really leaned into taking it easy and forgot what it meant to be a competitor in the NFL. And then he followed it up by saying, I saw it clearly, but I just got here. I'm not the one that can say something about that. I retweeted this video and just asked the question, like, who do you think it is he is talking about? Because if you told me it was Rico, if you told me it was Bryce, if you told me it was other pass rushers, if you told me it was Canales, if you told me it was the secondary, like, I'd believe it all.
Yeah, I have no idea, honestly. And like, I actually think, like, I love that he said that, although I wonder what everyone else will think that he said that.
Sure.
But to me, it speaks to a concern that I've had from the jump with this team. And it is the flip side of the whole, like, not having as many veteran guys, because a lot of the older players that are on this roster were like free agent signees. So I'm sure they feel somewhat similarly in that way of like, well, I haven't been here that long. Like, what am I going to say? Like, I just got here. And so you don't have as many of those guys that probably feel comfortable, like, getting up and yelling at everybody and just being like, what the hell? So, I mean, you would have more of those guys, I would think, on the defense maybe than the offense. You would hope, because they've got more guys, I feel like, that have been here for longer. And the O-line has guys like that, but maybe there's not as many skill guys or whatever. Chuba, you would think could be that guy a little bit, for sure, because like everyone on this team in that locker room respects him. But I mean, I don't know. Like, you don't hear about that one dude that just gets up and like just chews everyone's ass out. It's honestly,
and look, I guess to a certain extent, you were hoping maybe Patrick Jones could be this guy. It is one of the things, because I thought about something similar as I was driving back from the game on Sunday. I wonder if Milton Williams had not changed his mind at the 11th hour and gone to New England instead of Carolina. You've got a guy coming immediately off of a Super Bowl win. Is that somebody that could have pointed out what a winning locker room looks like versus what our locker room looks like? I mean, and like I said, Patrick Jones was a Chief for a long time. There's no reason to think he couldn't be that guy. It's just not happening.
And look, this is why I love Steve Smith so much too, by the way, because that was never something he was afraid to do.
Right. But here's the difference between Steve Smith and the locker room right now. There aren't a lot of guys that could tell you what a winning locker room looks like on the Panthers roster
true.
right now.
Yeah.
I do want to ask a legitimate question, knowing that you have not played in the NFL, but just tell me where it is your head is at on this.
Okay.
I don't like how much of an emphasis Dave Canales puts on celebrating the good, because I don't see the flip side of it ever. I don't see him really. And look, I mean, as an Alabama fan, like, my standard is Nick Saban. I need to see ass chewings on the sideline, right? I wonder how much of that celebration over criticism, that celebration over, I mean, frankly, putting an emphasis on celebration over execution, how much of it actually might be needed when the team has been as bad as it has been?
I am I do believe in general in life, and sometimes that does translate into football. Everybody's motivated differently, for one.
Sure.
There are some guys that legitimately need the ass chewing you speak of. There are some guys that they don't respond to that, and they don't like it, and they withdraw, and they shame spiral or whatever it is. So everyone's different in that way. I think that there's a difference between criticism and accountability. And I think that's maybe what you're responding to not seeing as much. And some coaches are way too performative about it, in my opinion. But you do at least hear stories of there's accountability just talked about, right? And I don't know that we hear as much of that. And I think that is really what I'm more searching for, as opposed to honestly, who I wants to see him chew their ass is the refs. I get so annoyed with that.
Yes.
Every other coach, even the coaches that are really positive, you see almost every other coach will at least yell at the refs or get more passionate towards the refs. And he just does not do that. And it's it bothers me. I don't, and at halftime and stuff, it does bother me that if they're getting their asses kicked or whatever, does it bother me that you don't see him show more outward emotion, even if it's not directed at the players necessarily? Yeah, I'll be honest. Yes, it does. Does that mean I need to see him yelling at people or getting in their face? No, but it's just more okay, well, what's there's a difference between being even keeled and coming across a bit of a robot, or I don't know. And so I think you just want to see the accountability. You want to see somebody that did something dumb have a seat and not come, even if you're not seeing him chew someone out, okay, well, if someone just did something dumb, sit his ass down then. You know what I mean? Something.
I think it would go a long way. Look, I am not suggesting we want to see the Lou Holtz walk out there and drag a player off by his face mask. That is
right. No,
that's
I
not
know
what I'm saying. I do want to see him sometimes, when XL was struggling is a really good example. I think it would be good for the roster sometimes to see him on the sideline, whether it is shouting or whether it is a little more collected, just saying, what the hell are you seeing out there? What the hell are you thinking that you can't pull these things in? It doesn't have to be all the time. He doesn't have to be Nick Saban, where the smallest thing sets him off. But you're right. There seems to be trying to be a player-friendly coach. And he has talked about wanting the players to be the ones to hold each other accountable, has made him look like
free range. It's free range parenting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's free range parenting. And he is wildly, at least I should say, comes across wildly ineffective. All that being said, I still stand by what I said a couple of weeks ago. It is clear these dudes rally for him. I just don't think they're ever going to get anywhere until they feel a little bit more, I guess, fear. I mean, I don't know what the right word for it is, because I think they respect him. I do. I just think that they can brush him off pretty easily.
Well, I think fear is the best. Honestly, I would even be fine with not him. I don't need him to yell at Xavier and be what are you doing, you idiot? But wouldn't it be cool and something different, at least to see him? You can yell at him, but yell passionately, you are better than this. Come on, you got this. I believe in you. Snap out of it. You can do this. Even if it's that, I think that's okay. But just show some passion. Show that it bothers you, because what concerns me is if the team gets its attitude from the coach, like if you're not mirroring that same passion, like that's what's concerning. Like if you're not showing that it matters, like that you're going to bleed for it, like why should they?
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
I agree. I think that you think back to the week 1 loss against the Jaguars, and you have Bryce flinging his helmet, clearly pissed off. And Dave Canales is doing the "it's okay, buddy, we'll get him next time." I know that's part of the job as a head coach. You got to make sure, it's why the line is in Ted Lasso about having about being a goldfish and forgetting the mistakes from play to play. That is part of a coach's job. But I think to your point, when your players are more bothered by their own lack of execution than you are, it's hard to ignore. I guess that's the only way to say it, because I cannot tell you exactly what's going on other than it is hard to ignore.
Do you know what it's giving a little bit? It's giving like the cool boss that like you really like them and like you hang out, like they're your friend, you know, but you're always like, am I even like doing a good job? Like, do they even, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, can I improve? And they're like, no, you're great. But they like say that to everyone. And you're like, but what, you know what I mean? You're just like, that can't be true. Like, I know I have like screwed up. Like, why? Like, tell me, I need to, hold me accountable in some way. Like, you can't just be my buddy. And so I do think there needs to be like somewhat of a balance. And like I said, I don't need the screaming to be the accountability. I don't need public humiliation to be a part of it. But you just want to hear like that there's some, even if he's just saying to them, like, you're letting every other guy on your unit down right now. Like that is fine. Then frame it that way. You know what I mean? Like, don't frame it like you're letting me down. You know, I'm your dad and you're letting me down. Like, don't say it that way then. Say like you're letting your brothers down or whatever you want to say. Like, because that's true. And like, that's the thing. Like, don't even talk about the years of beleaguered Panthers fandom that are watching this week to week and want to die inside. I'm not even talking about us. We'll be okay. We're still here somehow for some reason. I'm talking about everybody else, like that you're letting down if you like can't get whatever it like. If there's no fear of accountability, there's almost a craving for that, I feel like, you know, at least that's how I have felt in the past with bosses like that, where you're just like, okay, are you my buddy? Or like, are you going to?
Yeah. I mean, it is, you are sounding like somebody, like you are sounding like the parent of a 9-year-old talking to the parent of a 3-year-old, right? They crave accountability. They crave structure, where it's up to you to provide it. Panthers 24/7 is, I don't know if it's a podcast. Certainly it is an account across all social media channels, right? Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, etc. They have this graphic that is the Bryce Young meter. And it goes from green to red, and green is still the guy. I think the first shade of yellow is showing signs. Orange is it's time to have a conversation, and red is it's over. This week, we are more than halfway or less than halfway into the it's time to have a conversation category.
I think that's fair, by the way. I was like, wait, they're going to be in red, aren't they? But no, I think that they evaluated that correctly. Is like, is it time to have a conversation? Yeah. I
agree, which is why I don't think that it is worth talking about, is he the guy or is he not? Lauren, I think the conversation is, would you pick up Bryce Young's 5th-year option right now? Because I think there's a case for both. And the case for yes is getting weaker, but it does still exist, I think.
Yeah, and I think, like, here's the thing. I don't know why I bothered getting into the... I actually ejected myself from the argument at a certain point because I was like, I'm honestly too pissed right now in general to get into this back and forth. But I was just trying to argue with someone that he was not a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. And I do still think that he's not a bottom 5 starting quarterback in the NFL right now. I've seen a lot of whatever. It's fine. I still stand by that. I think you could do worse. And I think like that's what you always have to keep in mind with this is like, okay, you can want to get rid of him and want someone else and want to draft someone else. But like, first of all, are you drafting? Where are you drafting? Right now, Panthers aren't drafting very high. So that's one thing. To me, that's the other part is like,
that's where the case for yes has to begin. Is are you willing to
Who
start
are you getting?
over again? Well, not even just who are you getting. Are you willing to start over again? Because this team has made progress in the last 3 years. And because they've made progress, to start over with a rookie you have absolute belief in, you're going to have to do another trade like you did to get Bryce. And clearly that is not what people want.
Right. That's a big part of it. And then also, like, you know, I don't even know what the free agent market looks like for quarterbacks, but I can imagine it's bleak because anybody that you're signing,
it's always bleak.
Yeah, exactly. If you're signing a current NFL quarterback, like, you know what the quarterback market is. Like, you know what kind of money that's going to cost everyone. If you're going to sign a guy that's like already established, even on a lesser degree, it's going to cost you a ton of money. That's not worth it. So, like, what are we talking about here? That is the question. Like, and is there anyone in this draft that you go, oh yeah, like that could be the future? I don't personally think so. So, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, maybe somebody else feels differently about that. I don't know. But, like, I don't personally feel that way at this point. So
I think when I say that he is capable of big moments, I don't necessarily mean he's got the big arm and can really, you know, push the ball downfield all the time. I mean that he is capable. Like, he clearly is pretty clear-headed and always aware of the situation, unless things are just piling one on top of the other. And no one questions his leadership, right? The team clearly likes the guy, but we agree he's probably not a franchise quarterback. And if you sign him to a 5th-year option, then you have a bigger decision to make. And the cost changes in such a way that just being a good leader and not panicking is not enough. Like, it's not enough. So
100%.
How can you then justify not cutting the cord when you have the opportunity to?
I mean, I think that's fair. And so, like, that's what they'll have to balance out, right? Like, do you, again, like, when you have finally gotten people into, this is what people have to think about, because I get it. I get that there's a lack of patience. I get that people are frustrated. I'm frustrated. So I understand. Yeah. And I'm frustrated, by the way, not because, like, I think he sucks. I'm frustrated because I think he doesn't suck all the time. And I don't know why he just sometimes sucks a lot. And I'm like, why are you like this? You know what I mean?
Let me give you this stat. This is from Josh Norris from Underdog Fantasy. This is a tweet he had. There's a lot of good numbers in here. He says, so what's going on with the Panthers passing game? Here's a core part of the issue. Through 10 weeks, someone, Young, Canales, maybe both, is unwilling to throw downfield. Weeks 8 through 18 of last season, of 2024 season. Bryce Young in the Panthers passing game on 20-plus yard throws, ranked 6th in attempt percentage, 2nd in adjusted completion percentage, 2nd in big-time throw rate, only behind Justin Herbert and the Chargers in big-time throws.
Okay.
Through the 10-week sample of this season, they are 31st in attempt percentage, 7th in adjusted completion percentage, and 5th in big-time throw rates. That tells you adjusted completion percentage and big-time throw rates. They're down, but they are not off as big as the attempt rate is.
Yeah.
Something is going on that, look, and it could totally be on Bryce. It could absolutely be that he is not willing to take that first or second read that is the big throw.
Right.
But it really doesn't look like that's an option for him right now. As I was sitting there Sunday, knowing that time
you have
was
the
ticking
field
down.
view. You've got the all 32 view.
Right. Knowing that as time is ticking down and they need to push the ball downfield, he keeps throwing short of the sticks every time. And every time it is either to Teteroa McMillan or XL, which tells me that's the primary route.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. And, you know, it is one of those things too. I wonder, it's weird. Like, that is crazy that it's that much lower. Because you would think, like, with all the numbers guys that every NFL team has working, you would think that someone would be like, hey, and it's just a strange one for sure. Like, that it's like you said, maybe he's checking down some, I don't know, like, or maybe like you said, those are the primary routes. Like, it is a strange thing. I know that I have personally felt, and this is just feelings ball, not stats ball, where I have felt less confident in him making those throws the last couple weeks. But that's also because maybe there haven't been as many. And so, like, when you see one, you want it to hit, and when it's not hitting, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I mean, and it's like, it's tough, especially when you watch the other quarterback just bomb it away against your team.
Yeah. Did I tell you I know I texted you on Sunday that the guy sitting next to me was so drunk he was speaking in baby talk most of the game. Lauren,
I was sad it wasn't a Saints fan.
Yes. By the way, for the reputation that opposing fan bases can show up and take over Bank of America Stadium.
Not when the Saints are bad. They would have been there if the Saints were good.
So here's what I was going to say. The Saints fans didn't take over, that's for sure. But it was not hard to hear the cheers over the exasperations when something good happened for the Saints. But Lauren, I almost got into a fight on Sunday with that man and his buddy that my 14-year-old son was mature enough to calm everybody down. And it was because they were complaining about the execution and the play calling the whole game. And these guys...
You can't do that.
Yeah, so these guys go... At one point, they're like, you got to throw downfield. I don't understand what they're doing. You got to throw downfield. And this was on the third down in the fourth quarter that Bryce ends up throwing the ball away, and the Panthers have to punt it back to the Saints. And at that point, it's clear we're not winning the game.
Right.
And the guy who's been talking in baby talk goes, oh, well, there you go. I guess he can't throw downfield. And it was not insulting Bryce as I hold up my sweet tiny prince. It was not insulting Bryce that set me off at all. It was, I turned to him and I said, guys, this has been driving me crazy all game. Look at the video board. Where was there somewhere for him to throw to? Who was open for him to throw to? And the guy, his buddy, puts his hand on my shoulder, not like ready for a fight, like trying to call things. And he says, yeah, look, I'm just as frustrated as you are, my man. I have a lot of money riding on this game. And that's when I stopped him. And Lauren, I said something one man should never say to another in a football watching situation. I said, well, then you don't need to be betting on football because clearly you don't know ball.
Demetri!
I know.
Jesus Christ!
My son, who is mature beyond his years, stepped in.
Dad, shut up!
And reminded us, no. He put it on all the adults. He said,
Okay.
"I'm just trying to enjoy my first NFL game."
Aww.
And, right, right. So I say all that to say, as much as I am a Bryce Young defender, there are issues with this team, top to bottom right now.
Yes,
that if you think Bryce is part of the problem, I understand moving on after the fourth year. I am willing 100% to tell you or to acknowledge he has not made a strong case for picking up a fifth-year option. My question is, what is the plan if you're not going to do that? And at the end of the day, Lauren, it could be as simple as this comes down to what Dan Morgan wants, the end.
For sure. And like I said, like for me, I'm just a more conservative, like when it comes to like gambling or taking risks or whatever, I'm a little more conservative. I like to hang on to what I have if I know what it is. And as long as I'm sure, like, can I do better? You know what I mean? Like if I think for sure I can do better, I go, okay, time to cut bait. Like, let me try something different. But if I don't, I'm like, well, I don't know. This seems to be working so far. I fear change. So, like, admittedly, that is the way my mind works sometimes. But I've also seen this team, like, cut bait a lot. And, like, I'm still not over the Teddy Bridgewater situation, if we're being honest. Like, I'm not. Because
to me, the cutting bait on Bryce, that absolutely makes sense, and I would not fight you one bit of the way, is if you could do what Detroit did with Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff, where you see a dude that you think, hey, that guy is just in the wrong situation, and we have this aging quarterback, and let's do a deal with a draft pick and get it done. Fine. I don't think you're going to find that necessarily, even though you look around the league and there are plenty of people that believe Bryce Young will do a lot better with a second team than he's doing with these Panthers. I don't think anybody is biting on that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if he became a free agent, obviously, I think you would see a lot of teams be willing to take a chance on him and bring him in, like a lot more than we'll currently say that now. obviously. Because you do hear that. Like, you hear, like, oh, he needs change of scenery, and that's the problem, and whatever. Okay, well, let's see. Like, and maybe that's true to a degree. I don't know. It could be. For some quarterbacks, that does seem to be true. So we'll see. But, like, yeah, I mean, I just think that's a big part of it for sure. It's like, what are you going to do that's better? Are you going to get better? I just can't get over that you almost had you were way more in the wrong for your almost fight at the Panthers game than the almost fight I almost had with a Bucks fan when I was in my 20s at Bank of America Stadium.
I don't believe I was in the wrong. I sat there and listened to this for 3.5 quarters, and enough was enough. Someone needed to tell this guy, you don't know what you're talking about.
I just pointed and laughed, but that was because he had a pirate painted on his forehead, or a pirate ship painted on his forehead, and I was like, what an idiot. Like, I just pointed and laughed.
So you heard that intro we had at the top of the show that was created by our friends at Auditory FX. If you are a podcaster, if you have somebody in your life that does the whole content creation thing for a living, Auditory FX might just solve all of your holiday shopping problems. They have packages that start as low as $19.99, all the sound tools and effects you need to make your podcast sound bigger, more professional. We use it. Steve Stone, who created Auditory FX, is a dude that is trusted by radio stations and podcasts all over the country, and you can take advantage of it for as low as $19.99. And there are also more complex packages that are a little bit more expensive. Whatever level you want to get in at, Auditory FX has the tools to help you out. Check them out at auditoryfx.com. The Panthers are as low as they've been all season right now. Even lower, I think, than they were at 0-2, just based on the high versus what we got on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree.
This is not an unstoppable force versus an immovable object this weekend, because the Falcons also seem to be at a very low point. This is
this is an NFC Sads matchup right here. My God.
I don't know what realistically to think, because the Panthers have shown you, Bryce Young and Dave Canales in particular, have shown you their ability to let failure stack on top of failure. But boy, I was listening to a friend down in Atlanta yesterday as I was putting together the rundown for the show. And he said verbatim, I think it's pretty clear our head coach is a loser. Like,
well, I was going to very gently suggest that if you're concerned about Dave Canales' game management abilities, might I recommend a cure-all for that in one Raheem Morris? So,
yeah, I think that now, obviously, the Falcons are professionals. They are going to be trying to win every single game they play.
And they're better than their record. Not cliche, not just saying that. They're genuinely better than their record. Their defense is better. They are better than that 30-0 ass kicking that the Panthers laid on them. Their defense is much improved. That's going to be a big problem, and they can run the football. Like, it's going to be an issue.
The Falcons fan base, though, may very much be rooting for Carolina. Down. Like, they are already done with Raheem Morris.
And I get it. Like, some of the time management stuff, you just go, are you okay? Like,
it's funny. You and I talked about this before week 3 when they played. And I told you, growing up a Buccaneers fan, I always thought,
you clocked it.
Yeah, I thought he was a good X&O coach that was not ready to be a head coach and lead a franchise. No, clearly he's just not a good head coach, period. That's showing up right now.
I mean, to be fair, there are a lot of coaches that are like almost comically bad at the time management aspect, but like Raheem has just really taken some big L's at the end of halves recently and at the end of games. It's just not good.
I think that Raheem Morris, as much as his fan base is on his case, I think that if you ever wanted proof that black coaches deserve a benefit of the doubt they do not always get, I would invite you to take a look at New York, where it took the Giants 4 years to realize what any Alabama fan could have told you the day it came out that Brian Daboll needed to hire another offensive coordinator to teach him how to use a mobile quarterback. Like, that dude sucks and got every opportunity he could to hang on to that job. I don't think Raheem Morris is a very good coach, but
he's a really good coordinator. For sure.
Yeah, he was.
And there are a lot of guys like that. Yeah.
He was a really good coordinator when he was young. He was a really good coordinator when he was older, right? Like, he is just a good defensive mind. Right. And because he's not a good head coach, as a Panthers fan, I would like to see him get another year. But boy, this is a beat down team that the Panthers are going to face this week.
Very much so, which is terrifying, quite frankly.
Because they faced a beat down team last week.
Like I said, this is NFC Sads. This is what this is. Like, we're probably going to have the Schlereth Myers combo again.
Do you know
some bad jokes cracked? Some good offensive line play analysis, at least. Mark Schlereth, I will give him that. I've enjoyed a lot of that from him. But, like, yeah, it's going to be sad. The
best part of actually being at the game on Sunday was knowing that you had to listen to Chris Myers and I did not.
I'm going to break one time. Chris Myers just goes, he's like, Rico Suave. You know you get it? You know, like, you see what I did kind of thing? And I was like, what the hell, man?
Checking to make sure you get it is Chris Myers in a nutshell. Take us home, Lauren.
Oh, boy. NFC Sads on Sunday, so ice up, son.